Hello, it's Elaine with Elaine's Custom Cards. A special video for you today. I'm hoping I can keep this under, at least under 30 minutes. Today we're going to do 3 cards, and they're going from super simple, a little more complicated, to more embellishments. So let's get started. We're going to start with this card first. Let me tell you what stamp set I used. I used Positive Thoughts stamp set. It's in the mini catalog. And during celebration, you were able to buy a set of dies, a coordination. They were Nature's Thoughts dies. So I did use these, but the images aren't that hard. You can fussy cut them out for the card that's the more complicated one, if you don't have the dies. And I use this die, but I will give you the dimensions for this piece of cardstock that will work if you don't want to use these dies. If you don't have these dies, so that you know what dimensions. So let's get started. We're using Purple Posy cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and I've already stamped it, the inside, with "Friends Like You Mean More Every Year," and then I use this little image. You can try to get it even. I didn't, but it is what it is. So, and then I stamped, and I'm using Purple Posy, or not Purple Posy, but Highland Heather to stamp on here. And what I did was I took this image and this little image and stamped, inked it, stamped off, and then stamped so it wouldn't be too dark on here. So that's how I did this. And then I stamped this sentiment with soft suede. So let's get started on this card. Now the dimensions for this piece, if you don't have the die, which is what I used, this piece is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4, and it will work with this very vanilla, which is 4 by 2.5. It fits perfectly inside there, so that you can use this if you don't have the die. Since I have the die, I'm using it. And so we're just going to glue that. And I know this glue is pretty much out, so let's use a new bottle of glue here. I stamped, let me tell you what I did here before I get ahead of myself. I stamped this image right here with mint macarona, and I stamped off so it wouldn't be too dark. And I stamped the butterfly with So Saffron, and it's full strength. And then I stamped the sentiment, Sending Positive Thoughts, with soft suede. So let's go ahead and glue this to the front of our card. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep this video in about within 30 minutes, if at all possible. So we just need to center that on our Highland Heather piece, and then I'm just going to glue this to the front of the card. I didn't use any dimensionals on this particular card, and this is the easy one, just pretty much mostly stamping. And then you just center that on the front of the card. You don't have to put all the feathers and everything around there if you don't want to. You can leave the cardstock plain. And then I took some of these rhinestones, and I used 3, and it looks like my butterfly there, it moved, so let's fix that. I don't know how that happened. Must have lost its sticky. There. Okay, get him back so he looks like I want them to. So I just put 3 of these rhinestones down the center of the body of my butterfly. And then I use this ribbon right here. It's black, and it's sparkly ribbon. It's called Glittered Organdy Ribbon, and it's in the annual catalog. And I just tied a bow and then put a glue dot on the back and centered it right here at the bottom. And then the inside, of course, looks like this. So that's your simple card. Okay, the next card, the same thing. You can use that size of cardstock if you don't have this die cut. I used, let me get it here, the Scripty 3D embossing folder to emboss the front of my card base. And this card base is the same, purple posy. If I can get that open. And then I just did like this and ran it through my embossing machine like that. So that's what I did to the front of this card. Then I took my pieces, and I took this piece, and like I said, this either will fit on here or it'll fit on this one, whichever one you want to do. And I stamped this the same in mint macaron, stamped it off, and then stamped here, and then this is soft suede. And then I have my butterfly stamped in So Saffron, and of course this is Very Vanilla, and I stamped this on Very Vanilla, and then I cut it out with the dies. But like I said, this is pretty easy to fussy cut. So I glued this piece to the purple, to the Highland Heather. That's my empty one. We're going to throw that away so I don't pick it up again. Got little bits of glitter everywhere from that ribbon. So I just glued this to the front of my Highland Heather. It's like so. And then I took the ribbon and wrapped it around. And then I'm just going to tie a knot on this end over here. It's a little square knot. So it's kind of over the stem there. If I can get this, not too much trouble, get my fingers to work. I don't usually tie things on camera, but this particular one needed to be done this way. And then we're just going to pull that so we have a nice knot there. And then we'll cut the ends. So that end looks pretty good, so we'll just leave it. And then I'm going to take a glue dot and put on the back of that so it'll stay where I want it to. I don't want it sliding around. So we'll glue dot our bow in or our knot in place, and then that way this piece of ribbon will stay where you want it to. And then we're going to take our butterfly, and I used, well, you can take whatever you want. I used something kind of round. You can use a pencil or a pen, and just kind of curled my butterfly's wings a little bit. And then I put mini glue dots, or mini Stampin' Dimensionals. I put 2 of them on the back of this butterfly so it would be popped up. It's like so. And then I just kind of put him over here in this corner, like this. And then I took my rhinestones and put 3 rhinestones on the butterfly. Just like so. And then I took Stampin' Dimensionals and put on the back of this piece so we could pop it up. And I used 6. I think that's enough. Actually, I'm going to put one right here. Hold that ribbon in place, and I guess just for general purposes, I'll put one there. And I stamped the inside with the same sentiment, same ink, and the same little symbol there. I just put it in a different spot than the other one, just to be different. And we're going to glue or pop this up down in the lower right corner. Let's get all these covers off. We're going to put this over here. I got this idea from a card that Connie Stewart did. She used a different stamp set and different colors. So I just changed it a little bit for my video. So there's that card. Now we're going to do this one. This one's a little different. I changed the color of the base from the Purple Posy to, this is Smoky Slate. It's the same size, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I took a piece of Purple Posy. Excuse me while I get a drink. I took Purple Posy, and this piece is 5 1/4 by 4, and I embossed it with the Scripty 3D embossing folder. And then I took my ribbon, tied it around something that I have, because I wanted the bow to be attached. And then I decided how far over here I was going to do it so I'd know where to cut this. And I put a glue dot on the back. And I want to make sure this is in the right spot. So let's set that aside for a second and do this. I took a piece of very vanilla cardstock and I stamped my sentiment on the front of it. And then I attached it to this, and these pieces, just a minute and I'll tell you where they came from. I used the layering ovals framelits and the stitch shaped framelits, and I believe I used the largest of this one for that, so that that sentiment would fit in there. And then on this one I used, let me tell you which one I used. I think I used the largest on this too. Yes, so it's the largest on both of these sets that I used. Okay, and let's go ahead and finish this piece. I stamped my leaf image, and I stamped it full strength, and then I die cut it out, but you can fussy cut or use your brother's scan and cut if you have one. I stamped one of the flowers on Very Vanilla, and I used full strength Highland Heather. I stamped and I die cut, there was a die cut for this, a butterfly with the So Saffron. And then those die cuts had a little flower center right here that I used. And if you don't have that, you can use the flower center from the Poppy Moments dies, because there's one right here that you could use to put in the center of that flower. And I die cut this out of So Saffron cardstock. So what we're going to do is put this together before I put on my card. And I just kind of looked to see where I wanted my glue, which is going to be here, down there, just like this. It doesn't need a lot of glue because some of it's going to be sticking out. So I glued that and then kind of arranged it where I wanted it on here after I put the glue on it. Because you don't want glue where it's not touching something. So I glued that, and then I took my flower and kind of laid it on here to see, okay, where am I going to have to put glue on this? So it looks like here. I'll just put it on here and make it easier. Okay. And then you're just going to lay this on here. It's like so. Okay. And then I took my Stampin' Dimensionals and I used the minis on my butterfly. Oops, I forgot to curl the butterfly. So I'm going to curl the wings on my butterfly. Like so. And I'm going to put these mini dimensionals on the back. Just like that, like I did on the other card. And we're going to attach this butterfly right here. Make sure you don't cover up your words. And we're just going to put it right there. And then I took a regular dimensional, larger ones, and put on the back of my flower center and put it in the center of my flower. Kind of however you want to put it. Okay. And then I went ahead and put dimensionals on the back of this piece. So however many you think will hold this up so it doesn't collapse in the mail. And then I put some on this part because I didn't want it sagging either. And I used a few minis on here, on the edges here. Like one right there, and one right there, and we'll put one right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to take this piece, we're going to set it here so that we know where to put our ribbon. Because I want it to go right down the center of this. So go ahead and take your glue dot off. And then put your bow kind of over, because we'll be able to trim the ends. So we're going to put the bow kind of right here, like so. I can get it straight. Okay, and then we're going to take this off, move it out of the way. We're going to take tape. And I'm going to tape these ends to the back. Okay. Get it straight. And then we're going to take this. And we're going to put it on the front of the card. Now you can glue this down before you put this on, which I probably will, now that I think about it. I want to make sure that I've got it, the ribbon in the right place. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this to the front of my card. Now you can use snail. I just use liquid glue for this. And we're going to glue this to the front of the card. Okay, just like this. And that ribbon looks fairly even, I think. A little bit high on that side. There. So we'll put that right on the front of our card. I've got glue on my fingers as usual. So glue that to the front. Now we're going to set this on there. Make sure your words are level. Just like so. And then I'm going to trim this a little bit right here so it doesn't hang over so far. And then trim a little off of this side. There. That way it's not covering up my sentiment. Okay. Now I took a piece for the inside, and this piece is 4.5 by 3 1/4. Stamped it with soft suede and stamped off with the Highland Heather. You won't look at the back because I'm glad cardstock has 2 sides because I needed it. So now we'll put this on the inside of the card, and I just centered it in there. Just like so. Oops. Good thing it's movable. Okay. So then we got the inside done. The only thing left is wash our hands, but let's put these on because this will set the card off. So I use 3 of these again on the butterfly. And then so you can do whichever version. If you don't have the die cuts, then you can do the simple version. You know, the dies were part of the coordination release. And then I put a medium-sized one, oops, moved, in the center of my flower, just like so. And that's your little bit more complicated card. So those are our cards for today. So we've got these, which are the more complicated, and then these, and then this one. That's the simple stamping. So these are your cards for today, and I hope you have a great day. Please go to my blog, and it'll have all the supplies and dimensions there. And you can, if something you want to purchase, you can purchase from my website, elainescustomcards.stampinup.net, or when you go to my website, there is a link for that, for purchasing. If you want to sign up as a demonstrator under me, go to my website or my blog, and it'll give instructions on how to sign up. And then there's PDF copies of the mini catalog and the annual catalog that you can download if you want. So you have a blessed day and have fun stamping.